hard to see everybody out there with the light in my eyes, but welcome. I'm Brent Rudewick, and I'm super excited to talk to you. You've probably heard a lot about the content supply chain, but I think the piece that I want to land today is, what does that mean in an agentic world? And you heard a lot about the explosion of content, so we're going to start just a quick show of hands. And honesty is the best policy here, okay? So we're going to talk about interacting with content. What percent of your 24-hour period do you spend interacting with content? So we're going to say 20% of your time. Raise your hand. 30% of your time, raise your hand. Okay, a few hands. 40% of your time. Okay, a few more hands. 50% of your time. That's 12 hours a day. Okay? Yeah, okay, that's good. This is good. So here's what I'll tell you. If you do the research, everything out there, half of a person's waking moments, okay? So let's assume that we're going to get 8 hours of sleep. Now, I know it's kind of a joke for most of us, but let's assume you get 8 hours of sleep. So in a typical day, this starts to give you an idea of how much you're interacting with content. Then you ask yourself the question, okay, well, if people are interacting with that much content, what's the shelf life of content? And it might surprise you when you see TikTok. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Content's outdated. What does that mean? That means that the more you want to put things on TikTok, the more content you have to have because it's got to be refreshed. Because guess what? You do the old, you just swipe, right? Yeah, go past that, I'm not even interested. And now when it pops back up again, you're not going to see it again, which means you've got to have another way to get in front of those customers. So content the life of content has been significantly reduced. And research starts to show that agentic AI will actually handle most customer interactions in the next 18 months. And you've seen it. Like when you're interacting with a brand through an LLM, in 18 months, you won't be interacting with a person. You're going to be interacting with an agent. The agent's going to know how you shop. The agent's going to know what you like to do. The agent's going to know your buying patterns. And so ultimately, you've got to make sure that you have the content to power these experiences. But yet, when you ask folks, like, hey, how confident are you that you're ready for this agentic era? I feel ready. We're going to usher it in. We're going to move down the path. And it's very, very low. There's significant hesitancy. As a matter of fact, the data shows over half of executives polled feel like they're ready. Like, yep, we're ready to make the transition to agentic. And naturally then, you would say, okay, what's the primary reason why they're not ready? 80% say we don't have the enterprise context for these agents to actually do anything meaningful. We're living in a world of proof of concept. Like, hey, let's go hack something together. And then it's like, well, great, how does this work across the stack? Well, I don't know, that wasn't part of the scope, right? And so you're stuck in this world, I've heard it defined of POC hell. You're just stuck in this world of a constant loop, and you can't get out of the loop. And the reason is you've got to have enterprise context for these agents to actually start to bring connected value, right? End-to-end value. And you're going to see a little bit of that later today. So let's talk about what the evolution looks like. Step one, foundational. Many of you have some form of a foundational content supply chain. You may not have it all in the Adobe stack, but you've got some form of foundation. You've got your processes documented somewhere. You've got your briefs documented somewhere. May not be consistent, right? May not be all of your metadata is consistent, but it's documented somewhere. Ultimately, though, if you want your agents to return something of value, you have to start to standardize all of that. Standardize the way people work. Standardize the metadata. Standardize the definition of a brief. I'm sure many of you in here are like, oh, that's funny. Like, we've got 10 versions, depending on what Word doc and what business line, right? They all have their own briefs, and what they call a email marketing campaign might be different than this team. That's a dangerous world, because when you want to add an agent on top of that, the agent's going to look at that and go, well, this time I'm going to use what you said over here, but then the next time I'm going to use what you call it on this side, and now you have a conflict, and then your team says, that's not valuable to me because I feel like I'm spending more time trying to prove why this agent works instead of just getting my job done, right? So foundational. The next level is AI powered. So now that you have your foundation, how do you start to have AI come in from an assistant standpoint and assist humans getting the work done? And then as you start to evolve, you saw some of the demos earlier, you move to more of an autonomous. So what does it look like with humans and agents working next to each other instead of agents just assisting humans in doing work? And this becomes an evolution. It becomes, you've probably heard it called like a maturity cycle, right? An agentic maturity cycle. And this is what it looks like across the content supply chain. So let's talk a little bit about roles. So what we see happening, and Suresh and I were talking about this earlier. He's going to come up and share with you a little bit about what he's seeing at Lloyds. But you start to see role shifting. But ultimately, today, you've got these roles that are doing these jobs. What does it look like with an AI-assisted world? Well, ultimately, these people have an agent. They might have several agents, but you're going to learn, if there's one thing you learn from this session, right? Start small. Start with a single agent that you can start to get value out of, connected value, and then build from there versus get caught up in the agent swirl. But ultimately, how do you start to think about agents assisting folks in the context of where they work today, right? So if they're in Workfront, great. Have them use Workfront, have an agent that is an actual licensed user, and assign that agent some of the tasks in a project. That's a great place to start, right? The agent has the context that it needs. So let's talk about the from to. What might this look like? From AI operating with partial or missing context, which is where most folks are today, to agents operating with unified context, meaning standard metadata, standard processes. And I'm going to show you some of the items that I'm talking about around enterprise context. Here's another. Brand checks, mostly dependent on human, taking a look at every piece of content. And it's like, Adobe, thank you so much for just pushing the bottleneck downstream of creating all these variants only for a human to have to review them all, right? So what does it look like when you have brand intelligence that has all of the understanding of your brand, and it can actually tell you what content is on brand or not, and it can create on-brand content, lay out how everything comes together. Last but not least, agents and AI tools living next to workflows. This is the definition of a POC. I've got my work today, then over here, I've got my AI POC. The two really do not work well together. Versus agents operating natively in the context and the tech of where folks are working today. So I want to juxtapose a little bit of those so that you get a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about. So Adobe Gen Studio, it is the connected system for the agentic content supply chain. I know there's been some confusion, like, you're talking about Gen Studio, the app, you're talking about Adobe Gen Studio is the solution. All of the products that Adobe offers sit under the Adobe Gen Studio umbrella. Okay, so I want to make sure that you guys land that. 5 core components to an agentic content supply chain. Enterprise context, brand intelligence, agentic ecosystem, AI workflows, and a conversational experience. Or, bless you, or what you might call a harness, right? This would be another example of a harness. So let's break a little bit of this down. What do we mean by enterprise context? When we say enterprise context, brand and content knowledge. Typically, this is probably a PDF that either lives in some shared drive somewhere or with your agency. How do you take that PDF and turn it into something that trains a model, right? It also understands all of the content that you already have approved. The second one is workflow and operational records. One central repository for everything that you've launched, everything that you've approved, who approved it, why it wasn't approved, in one place. Enterprise context. Decision traces. If something wasn't approved, why wasn't it approved? Why is that important? If you want to train a brand model, the brand model learns when you say, no, that's not approved. And the brand model's like, oh, okay, that's good to know. Brand model then updates, okay? So it's learning. And then metadata and schema. Also another really important reason why metadata has to be standardized. Because the LLMs are only as smart as the data that they're trained on. So you've got to have standardized metadata. Enterprise context, I think it's important that you understand this as well. There is value within every one of these. This is Prudential. You can see that Prudential got 135% higher engagement in their AI personalized experiences, just focused on standardizing the work that they're doing today. Putting it in a system, getting some higher velocity going through the system, you can see the value. So I think it's important that you don't have to do all 5 of these before you get value. You can get value at various dimensions. Let's go to the next one, brand intelligence. You heard a lot about this earlier. So brand intelligence is a brand new product. It's live. Hopefully some of you have started down the path of using the brand intelligence product. Xfinity has actually been co-developing with us. They were a co-development partner early on. Variant generation at scale in minutes. So if you saw some of the demos earlier, you get the idea. Like the sheer notion of having to take a few hero assets and based on the channels and the understanding of the channels, it builds all of the downstream variations on brand. Huge unlock in the content production space. Agentic ecosystem. So these would be all of the agents. And what you see up here are several of the new agents that we've launched. Strategic ideation agent, that is inside of Workfront planning. So if you've heard about Catalyze, Project Catalyze, this is the new strategic ideation agent, and that canvas that you saw shared earlier today in that briefing phase, it's all a part of Workfront planning. Workflow optimization agent, so when you saw like kick this project off or it knows what template to assign, that would be your workflow optimization agent. And then a content production agent, you saw that Firefly for creative production. It's the ability to actually instantiate that in a workflow, right? So those are the 3 new agents. And then there's other agents at the bottom in addition to any of the third-party agents that each of you very well might have built within your individual systems. AI workflows. So I think it's really important that we talked about agents that live alongside the workflows that you deliver today. AI collaborators is a new capability inside of Workfront. What those AI collaborators allow you to do is to go set up, like maybe you built some type of a copywriter agent. And I want to be able, within a set of tasks, I want to assign the copywriting task to the copywriter agent. You can load that agent as a user, just like a human would be, and when it gets to that step in the project, that copywriter agent will go do that work for you. It will log it. It will tell you that work is done. It's complete. It's in the context of where you're working today. So this allows you to start down the path of adopting an agent within the context of where you work. That's AI collaborators. Firefly for creative production you saw on stage today, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time there. And then you also saw GenStudio for content marketing on stage today as well. Vanguard has actually done a couple of these, and you see a 90% targeted time, greater than a 90% targeted time savings. Like they took some of their processes down in more than half using some of these capabilities. So another huge unlock within the context of where you're working today. Okay. So you've heard a lot about earlier, you've heard a lot about the innovations that we've launched, but I want you to hear from a customer. So I'm going to roll a video, but Suresh is with us from Lloyds Bank. If you haven't heard Suresh, Probably don't want to build him up too much, but super dynamic, done a lot just in the financial services space. Super excited for you guys to hear from him, but we'll roll a video, and then we'll bring Suresh up.
The thing is with dreams, it's not hard to know what you want. It's hard to know how to turn an aspiration into action. Your dreams can be big or small, whatever they are. In 2026, we're going to show you how Lloyds can be your aspiration ally. Because when the time comes to make the leap, Lloyds' unrivaled scale, safety, and expertise means we can unlock any aspiration. Our brand new campaign will paint the town green, inspiring the UK to bank on Lloyds. Powered by technology, data and AI, mobilizing communities everywhere from Reading to Reading, including 65,000 of our own. Launching squads of influencers to inspire every corner of the internet, fueling an AI content engine to smart surf every aspiration with an action. Filling the airwaves with radio partnerships and podcasts. Inspiring the nation with a new TV campaign for brand, mortgages and wealth. Showing how aspirations can come to life with our end-to-end experience, where every moment is a step closer to your dreams. Britain's dreams don't have to wait. You can bank on Lloyds to make them happen. Because we're ready when you are. Bank on Lloyds.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Suresh, Chief Marketing Officer from Lloyds Bank. All right, so this is my favorite part.
Gosh.
So, Suresh.
It's like hard talk.
Yeah. So, tell us about yourself, your role at Lloyds Bank, kind of your passion, right, that it brings you here. Like, why even come here and share, right? So just help the audience understand a little bit of context.
Thank you. Firstly, thanks for having me. Loving all the conversation about humans plus machines, and we've been down this path for quite a while, and I want to talk a little bit about it and our learnings. Hopefully, as an industry, we can grow together. Everything is new, everyone's learning, so it's great. My role, I'm the group CMO at Lloyds Banking Group. I oversee all of our brands, Lloyds, Halifax, Bank of Scotland, Scottish Widows, there are 16 of them and more. I oversee brands, marketing, B2B, B2C, on us, off us, all the insights, data analytics, CRM, and the fastest growing team within my function is design. So we have nearly 500 designers. So a lot of what you showed here rings true, and I want to talk to you about it a little bit later. UX, UI, customer journeys, all of them mapped. I took on this role 2.5 years ago, and I speak about this thing called experience-led brands. And the brands are no longer just television adverts. Everyone remembers black horses on beaches, but that's not the future. The future is your brand is as good as your last swipe or your last conversation or your last, it's the last call you made to the contact center. And to your point earlier, I think the content connects all of it, and my role is getting exciting because all of this is at the gates right now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, I mean, I can tell you're passionate, right? You're passionate about the topic. So, what really resonated with you about what you just saw? Like, what is it that really resonated, and why are you so passionate? Help me understand a little more about that.
So maybe 18 months ago, lots of people started telling me internally and externally that, good Lord, AI is here, and creativity is dead. And I wanted to see it for myself. So we partnered up with WPP at that point, and I went and asked them, guys, is creativity actually dead? Do we not need creative people anymore? Do we not need marketing folks anymore? Is it end of my job? What the hell's going on? So can we actually test this out? What's the and you got to believe that marketing is part art and part science. And the science side of things is always about experimentation. That's how humanity has moved forward. That's how innovation come to play. So we landed up with creating a large project called Project Turing, which was to try and figure out, well, is this about machines or about humans? And you can look up on our medium, on the Lloyds Banking Group Medium website, on Medium page about Project Turing, we essentially created a brief, a brand new brief, end-to-end, full experience brief, including marketing, on briefing a group of creatives on the same brief to a group of AI experts, and the same brief to a team that had WPP open and the creative team. And lo and behold, of course, the team that won. I mean, now we look back and we think, of course, why would it not be? But at that point in time, 18 months, 2 years ago, we didn't know where this was going. It was very clear that augmentation was the answer. The team that was augmented with AI went faster, but also went broader. They could do lots more research than ever before. They could hoover up data and get to the insights faster. So the slide that resonated to me was the slide that you had that paired a role with an agent. Is it either it's like your personal concierge, or it's the agent that helps you do your job better. So augmentation is the way that we think about things at Lloyds Banking Group. And the thing that probably I would challenge you back on is there is the phrase called humans in the loop. I think our view is humans in the lead. We will have to design. I think eventually you got there in the conversation about setting up the harness or setting up the vision or setting up the standards. I think the phrase that we have started to use is humans in the lead. We have to have a view of what this agent needs to do. Yeah. And the role of the human is not to just rubber stamp stuff.
Yes.
So if that becomes your role, then you might as well kiss your career goodbye, right? So, or we might as well hand the keys to the machines,
yeah,
and go to the beach. But I don't think that we are there yet. I think where we are is we take the lead, we set the transformation plan, we are building the agents as we speak to get us to the end state that you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed your chat. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So help me understand a little bit about the journey. Like you said, it was 18 months ago.
Yeah.
You're on this transformational journey.
Yes.
Where did you start? Why did you start there?
Yeah.
I think that's really good context for the folks to hear.
Thank you, Brent. I think why did we start? Really good question. I think as a marketer, a lot of this technology is landing to get a slice of the $1 trillion marketing budget, right? So that's where it's going. Marketing has gone through 3 rounds of disruption, probably 4 rounds of disruption. For the longest time, 2014 is the year of mobile. 2016 is the year of mobile. 2018 is the year of apps. We're used to lots of new things coming through, but actually lots of things not moving at all. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I think I continue to be in the marketing space, I continue to love design and creativity, is because of this sort of, there's always this big wave of transformation that comes through, and my curiosity has always led me to figure out what we want to do next. And I've been fortunate to have, to the video, Lloyds Banking Group is nearly 30 million customers. That's half of the population of the UK. 25% of all payments goes through Lloyds. Practically 25% of UK's economy goes through Lloyds. The ability for us to do something meaningful in the industry, it's never been more exciting than now. So when we started having conversations with yourselves, when we started having conversations with our other partners, it was quite evident that there was lots of investment going into it. But we wanted to do it for ourselves. Yeah. And you're right, in the early days, you called it POC hell. It was really annoying. Right, the number of things that we had to do to try and prove in the bid to experiment, and there were just way too many of them. But that's where we started. But Lloyds Banking Group, I've also been fortunate because 18 months ago, our chief HR officer decided to give Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, to everyone, which you think was great, right? 45,000 people with Copilot. Initially, it was interesting, it was great. Then it was bloody annoying because you'd get Copilot written emails, Copilot written papers that I used Copilot to decipher. Yep. And we were creating so much internal AI slop, and thankfully we've come off that maturity curve because Copilot had access to all of our enterprise data. It had access to all of our emails. It was also fun because maybe 18 months ago there were people who were trying to say, Copilot, roast my last week. Suresh, you spend too much time in governance meetings. Fuck. Yes, of course I do. So it's been a journey as an enterprise, but it's also been really fascinating for us because with our partners, we've started reimagining marketing and design for the new world. So it became quite evident that the only way to unlock new value will be able to use the new technologies to augment how our people did what they did.
Yep. No, that's awesome. So talk to me a little bit about roles.
Yeah.
Like, how have you seen roles shifting? You talk about like, hey, what about your role as the leader of the organization,
Yeah.
right? So talk a little bit about how you've seen roles start to shift.
Yeah, really interesting. So one of the things that I talk about, and I think John Lee and I were at a panel on the FT panel a little while ago, and we were talking about transformation is a triangle in my head, right? There are three ends to the triangle. One is you got to think through the tasks that you want to do to start with, right? All the things that you think are the stuff that your organization produces. That's the first T of the top of the triangle. That doesn't change. You're still engaging with customers. You're still having conversations. You're still trying to help customers achieve their dreams. We could do as much agentic as we want, but if you're not helping a first-time buyer get a home, it's all wasted. Yep. That's just, we are creating some stuff. What customer outcomes and what products do we build, therefore? That's the first one. The second one is tools. We've got to think through all the tools at hand, the tools that you will lead, and the agents you will lead, and all the things that you need to do. So each of those roles, we mapped out each of those roles, and we figured out what do all of our products look like, and therefore what activity do we need to do, and therefore what agents do we need to build. That's the second. So tools is the next part of the T. The third part of the T is what you are alluding to. The third T in the triangle is talent. So talent is crucial. Self-starters are important. We've been going through, some of my team are here today, the work that we've done is to try and understand what skills do we have today and what are the skills of the future. And this is hard graft, to be able to map out skills and to find people in our teams who will be curious to take that leap. Internally, we call it learning agility. And with support from yourself, support from our other partners, we've been able to pull together. We started, again, 18 months ago, we started doing these things called deal time takeover, which basically means drop everything and learn, right? So every week, there is a deal time takeover. We ask Adobe to take it over, we ask Accenture to take it over, or we ask Google to take it over. We come in and talk to our team about everything that's going on. So talent and talent development is core, is one of the key pillars to this transformation, not just in an agentic world, but generally, right? And really fascinatingly, as a leader, you also have to be able to write what new job descriptions look like. Yeah, do not go to Copilot and say, give me a new job description. You've got to have the vision to say, where will this go? The fastest growing job family in my team is a content designer. Now we have 14 or 15 content designers. Some of them are former copywriters, some of them are former editors, some of them are former reporters, and content design doesn't exist as a role in most organizations. We've had to create it. We have trained these people, and they help our chatbot how to bring the brand to life in every conversation that we have. Or they try and help they try and learn from how customers are actually, they look at all of the prompt sets, and they go, okay, if this is what the customers are asking, what content should we build? So content design is a real job. And 18 months ago, if we had sat here, we would have had maybe one content designer or half a content designer. Now we have maybe 14 or 15, and it'll get to 30 by end of this year or mid next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're getting close to the end of time.
Yeah.
I want to do a couple of one-word associations.
Let's go.
Okay?
Gosh, yeah, let's go.
One word.
Okay.
Agents.
Well, I don't know what to say. Agents, 007?
Love it. I love it. Lloyds.
Exciting.
Exciting. Suresh.
Energized.
Energized. Love it. Folks, hopefully you enjoyed the opportunity. I always love talking with you, but let's get
Likewise.
Suresh going.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. All right. So now I want you to see the product in action. Okay, so I'm going to invite Martyn to the stage. So Martyn Cook, there you are. If you will come up, and we're going to roll a video. Yes, I believe that's correct. No. Yes. No video?
I think there was some music, so there you go.
Oh, there it is. All right, good. I thought there was video rolling.
All right, so thanks, Brent. Now, as a marketeer, you trust your gut. You come up with a really good idea for a campaign, but that's not what gets your budget signed off. You have to have a strategy. Providing the spark, that's all you. But executing the plan, building it out, this is where the AI agents can help. Now, before I start, I want to thank Lumen for allowing us to use their brand today, so we can show you how Adobe's agentic content supply chain brings both humans and agents together across the entire workflow. Now, I'm going to start off acting as a marketing and operations manager, and I'm going to be here inside Adobe CX Enterprise Home. I want to start off the ideation phase for our new Lumen network campaign, and I can simply paste this in here. I want to target enterprise IT buyers, and I want to use previous insights from Adobe CX Analytics to see what worked well before. As soon as I enter that, the strategic ideation agent kicks into play and starts building out my plan for me. Now, I can continue to go back and forward with it, or I can build it out in a canvas so I can work with my team collaboratively. This is going to start by bringing in all of that data from customer journey analytics, seeing what worked well before and why. I can see how our brand is currently performing, and also how our competitors are doing. And I'm going to continue by building out both our key messaging and some campaign concepts with the rest of my team. Okay, perfect. We've now got a very well thought out campaign that has been distilled down into a brief that we can use to kickstart our content supply chain. So let's generate our planning record. And now we can see this project in context with the rest of the campaigns that we're currently running. And if I drill into it, you can see all of the information through that ideation phase has been mapped in here as structured metadata. And what's really powerful is this is going to stay with the content all the way through its entire life cycle. So from the initial strategy and planning we've just done through to the measurement and the activation that we're about to do. You can also see that Adobe Experience Manager Assets Content Advisor agent is able to suggest some content for us. So this is previously approved pieces of content. I mean, if we've got stuff that worked well before, why would we create stuff again from scratch? So let's grab those, and we'll add them in as part of the brief. So this is all looking really good, so we can go ahead and turn this into a project. Now, this is where our workflow optimization agents kicked in and automatically built our project plan for us. It's recommended some assignments, and just like Brent said earlier, this is a mixture of both people on my team and AI agents. So in the same way that we can assign a task to a person, we can assign work to an AI agent just as they were a permissioned user. So I'm going to take those assignments, and you'll see I've got a mixture of our workflow optimization agent. So this is acting just like a project manager would, making sure things are on track, watching out for any issues, essentially making everything sure that it runs all nice and smoothly. We've then got our copywriter agent, and this was built directly by Lumen inside Microsoft Copilot Studio, and this is building out our copy guidelines using our unique brand tone and voice. And we've then got our sales collateral agent, again, built by Lumen, but this time using Claude, and this is going to take all of those marketing materials and distill it down into sales-facing assets that we can use across the field. And then finally, you may have noticed that my creative agency is in here. So using Workfront to Workfront via App Builder, as soon as I assign a task to my creative agency, this is going to go over into Dentsu's own version of Workfront, create the task, and give them all of that context so they can go ahead and execute against it. No manual handoffs needed. Now, while I've been doing that, the copywriter agent is complete. So let's go ahead and look at our project's assets. So I've got our new copy guide. I've got all the assets that we added as part of that ideation phase, and I've also got some imagery that's been put in there from Adobe stock. And I can put this through an Adobe Firefly custom model later so that we can apply the Lumen unique brand style. Now I'm going to switch hats a little bit now, and I'm going to play the role of a creative. And as a creative, I spend a lot of my time inside Frame.io. And within both Workfront and Frame, we have unified storage. So I can use whatever interface I prefer. We're always looking at the same files. So I can come over here, and I can grab my add template, open it up inside Photoshop Web, and then using the new AI markup tool, I can simply describe the changes that I want. So I want the gradient updated, I want the top to be yellow, the bottom to be orange, I specified the exact brand colors, and even the model that I want to use to generate this. And we're done. And because this is a cloud document, this is instantly saved back into Frame.io, and of course, visible inside Workfront. Now, that's the part of the job that I quite like. You know, the big brand decisions, the direction, the creative part. What takes up a huge part of the time is scaling this out. So producing all those different variants for all those channels that I need to do. And this is where the Firefly Creative Production Agent comes in. This is telling me that it's going to save me a significant amount of time by simply assigning a workflow that's been built out by my team earlier. So I'm going to grab one of these, run it through this workflow, and within just a few seconds, I should have all of those images output for me. So all the new text, all the new stylized backgrounds, and all the different sizes that I need. So let's go ahead and review them. And again, we spoke about having unified storage. We also have unified review and approval. So whether you are a creative, a marketeer, you're legal, you're compliant, we can all come in and use the Frame Viewer to do our markups, and we're all looking at the same set of files. You also notice that Adobe Brand Intelligence has said that there's no issues. I agree, this looks good. I'm going to go ahead and approve it. Now this one, Brand Intelligence has picked up that it doesn't quite match, and it's even pointed me to the page in the brand guidelines of why it doesn't match. Now this is true, however, this change was made on purpose, and we just haven't updated our brand guidelines document yet. So I'm going to say that it's okay, and mark it as approved. And just like Brent said earlier, this system is going to constantly learn from every decision, every comment that you make, so not just what is stored in that static file. Now this one here has picked up that there's a bit of a distracting gap, so between that diagonal. I agree, and if you notice, this wasn't even in our brand guidelines document. It's just learned from everything that we've done that this is not on brand for us. So let's leave a message for my team, tell them that they need to change this, and this needs work. Okay. Right, so now back within Workfront, that task is done. I can also see that that task has come back from Dentsu. So they would have made the new video, marked the task complete in their own Workfront environment, and it's updated my Workfront plan for me as well. So I haven't had to chase anyone. The next thing I need to do is go ahead and create some video assets that I can use across our social channels. So for this, I'm going to go inside Adobe Gen Studio for Content Marketing and simply paste in my prompt. So on new video assets, I want to use them across LinkedIn, Meta, and YouTube, and see how it's instantly picked up that campaign. So all of the context that we've got from earlier on in the process is being pulled into this request as well. The system's going to go ahead and find some videos that we could use. So there's 2 from a couple months back, and then there's the video asset that's just come back from our agency. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. It's now pulled out 6 key moments from that video that will be perfect for use across those social channels. So we can drill into any of these, watch the video, look at the transcript, and see exactly why the AI said this is a good video for us to use. Yeah, I agree, this one looks good. I'm going to grab this one as well, and let's use those. Okay, so what do we have? 12 ready-to-use assets that can be pushed out across our social channels in just a couple of minutes. It's taken the videos, put our unique Lumen intro and outro onto that video, and where applicable for things like LinkedIn, it's even wrote the copy for us as well. And just like before, we could send this back for review and approval, but for today, we'll just go ahead and activate it. And again, in one click, we have that pushed out to LinkedIn, Meta, and YouTube. Now, I'm sure this has resulted in thousands of new followers. The sales team's happy because they've got loads of leads. But let's go and see how the rest of our campaign is doing. So here inside CX Analytics, I can see exactly what's working and what's not. And we have our data insights agent here continually combing through all of the data to understand and surface that and bubble that up to the top of the screen for me. So if I click in, I can see that the new yellow assets are working a lot better than the legacy orange creative, but that's fine. Just as you've seen earlier, I can push this through the Firefly Creative Production Agent, generate those new stylized backgrounds, put the new copy in, have Adobe Brand Intelligence check it, and I'm going to have all those updates there ready within a few minutes. It's also telling me that IT decision makers are not engaging quite as well as they used to. So let's drive into this insight a little bit and ask it, what should we be doing? What is really resonating with this audience? Okay, so it turns out that technical audiences really like data-driven visuals. It's pulled up a couple of pieces of content that's worked well for me before in the past, and I can even go ahead and share this with my team so they can action against it. So I can leave a message, give them those reference files, and even give them the prompt that they can go ahead and run. And this is going to continually teach the system. So when we're doing that ideation phase for the next project or the next campaign that we're doing, it has all of this enterprise context to take into account. Now, back in Workfront, we're on our final task. It's now gone ahead, grabbed all those marketing materials that we've just made, put them into sales-facing materials that our team can use, and everyone's happy. And because we've worked with both humans and agents, we've done this campaign 35% faster than ever before. So, what did we see? We started with an idea, and we've turned it into a full data-driven campaign. You've had people focused on strategy and the creativity, and have AI agents on the scaling and the production aspects. And because the metadata has traveled with the campaign throughout its entire life cycle, every system, every agent, and every person has stayed aligned all the way through. This is how you scale your marketing with AI, and this is what an agentic content supply chain looks like. Thanks, Brent.
So hopefully you get an idea, right? You heard from Suresh. Like, it works. It's a journey worth taking. Something we didn't get to get into, I think it's really important. Everybody's a builder. Nobody's immune. If you're not curious, you're going to get left behind because you've got to be curious in this new world. You've got to roll your sleeves up and jump in at every level, every level. So I think it's really, really important. Get in, learn, pressure test the system, find something that you can start with, and move down that path. You don't have to go too fast. So a few things that practical things that I want to leave you with. First, establish your foundation. Standardize the metadata, right? Get to a brief that you know you can use, right? Or at least standard set of briefs that you know you can use. Remember that enterprise context we talked about earlier. Number 2, introduce agents incrementally. Like, you don't have to tackle 20 agents out of the gate. I would highly discourage that, honestly, right? Find work that you know can be automated. You saw some examples in here. Copywriting can be automated, right? Asset variance can be automated. Find something that you know takes a significant amount of time and set out to solve that problem. And then have an agent that starts to take the work on, build from there, scale it across your team, right? So start small, incrementally add. Maintain human in the loop. I think Suresh calls it, human in the lead, right? So regardless, it's not just agents doing everything. There's still going to be human interactions along the way, but ultimately, you've got to find a way to automate the mundane, automate the work that you're like, why is it that an agent can't do this? Automate that. And then have the humans that are able to do more of the context of, yeah, an agent probably isn't going to know what I know here, or an agent may not know this piece, right? And then over time, you might be surprised at how much an agent can do. But ultimately, start somewhere and start to automate the mundane. And then last but not least, expand orchestration over time. So once you get your feet under you, then say, okay, now what happens if we chain several of these together? Maybe we can automatically move some of this stuff along. Maybe it can work a bit more autonomously. But you don't have to go from completely non-agentic to autonomous in one fell swoop. It's going to be very, very challenging if you go down that path. So that is all that I had for you. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure we'll see you all in and around. If you have not gone to the pavilion, please go. Go do the activations, the one with Dick's Sporting Goods and Sharpie. Great examples of how this works. Go put your hands on CX Coworker. You'll get a chance to see that as well. So if you have not done that, please go to the pavilion. You can ask questions, hands on keyboard, and get a chance to roll your sleeves up and learn. And with that, there is a QR code. Please tell us how we did. Tell us if we did a terrible job. We're okay with that. But just tell us how we did. Tell us if it resonated, if it didn't resonate, and we appreciate the time. So with that, thank you very much.